This video is a training guide designed to provide a step-by-step procedure on how to carry out your duties as an election official on election day, from the point of arrival at the polling unit through accreditation and voting, sorting, counting of ballots, recording a vote, and announcement of results. Module 1. The polling team. There shall be a minimum of 4 polling officials in a stand-alone polling unit. Presiding officer, PO, ballot paper issuance and overseer. Assistant presiding officer, APO1, verification. Assistant presiding officer, APO2, register check, inking and statistics. Assistant presiding officer, APO3, queue controller and PVC checking. Some polling units may have voting points with 3 APOs and 1 APO, VP presiding. Assistant presiding officer, APO1, verification. Assistant presiding officer, APO2, register check, inking and statistics. Assistant presiding officer, APO3, queue controller and PVC checking. Other stakeholders. The following shall be allowed into the polling unit or collation centers on polling day. Security agents, candidates or their accredited polling agents, accredited domestic and foreign observers, accredited journalists and media, voters at polling units where they are registered only, Inec officials on election duty. Module 2. Duties of poll officials. Presiding officer PO will be in charge of all activities at a polling unit on polling day, including accreditation, voting, sorting, counting of votes, as well as the announcement of election results. Take delivery of and inspect all materials for election from the Supervisory Presiding Officer SPO and ensure their security, particularly the sensitive materials such as the ballot papers and result forms. Must be at the polling unit early, at least 1 hour before the official commencement of accreditation and voting to set up the polling unit. Coordinate activities in the voting point under his or her supervision. Will conduct voter and peace education before commencement of poll. Issue ballot papers to voters and ensure that voters deposit thumb-printed ballot papers into the appropriate ballot box. Issues visually impaired, blind, VIB, the braille ballot guide or magnifying glass as may be applicable. Complete forms EC40H1, PWD Voter Information and Statistics. Transmit election results as prescribed by the Commission. Responsible for the return of election materials and equipment to the Supervisory Presiding Officer and Registration Area Collation Officer RACO. Will deliver completed result sheets and card reader to the Registration Area Collation Officer RACO. Report any security incident to the security agents at the polling unit and where necessary, invite the police or security agents to maintain order, keep the peace or arrest any person committing an offense. Instruct the removal of a polling agent who aids and abets election malpractices at the polling unit and shall be liable to prosecution. Document adverse incidents on polling unit booklet and informs the appropriate authority and persons. Ensure that polling staff, accredited observers, polling agents, security, accredited media sign the attendance register in the polling unit booklet. Provide periodic updates of the election progress and report threats. Post the completed publication of result poster EC60E at the polling unit. Transmit accreditation data using the smart card reader. Assistant Presiding Officer APO1 will work under the supervision of the Presiding Officer or Assistant Presiding Officer Voting Point VP. Assist with the collection of election materials from the Supervisory Presiding Officer SPO. Assist with the return of election materials to the SPO. Verify and authenticate a voter using the card reader. Assistant Presiding Officer APO2 will assist with the collection of election materials from the SPO. Will be responsible for the confirmation of voters' details as contained in their permanent voter card (PVC) and the register of voters, and ticks the appropriate boxes by the voter's name before polling. Will apply indelible ink on the appropriate finger of the voter before polling. In charge of completing Forms EC40H, PWD Voter Information and Statistics, polling units and voting point. Assist in the preparation and sorting of ballots. Field publication of result poster EC60E for presiding officer to sign and post. Assist in the return of election materials to the SPO at the close of the poll. Assistant Presiding Officer APO3 will be responsible for orderly queuing of voters. Arrangement of separate queues for men and women in areas where the mingling of men and women in the same queue is not allowed. Create separate queue for people with disability (PWD). Determine if a voter is at the correct polling unit or voting point. Confirm that a voter has not voted anywhere by inspecting the cuticle of a voter fingernails. If satisfied, direct the voter to the APO1. Inspect PVC held by a voter. If the PVC is not for the polling unit, advise the voter to proceed to the appropriate polling unit or voting point settlement. Assistant Polling Officer Voting Point APOVP, responsible for the supervision and conduct of all activities during polling, sorting and counting within a specified voting point (VP). Act on behalf of the PO at the voting point. Regulate the conduct of voters at the voting point (VP). Decide on all cases reported to him or her by the APO1, APO2, and APO3. Module 3, Election Day Activities. Election Materials. Receiving non-sensitive election materials. Before the commencement of the election, the presiding officer PO shall: Step 1. Receive the non-sensitive items from the SPO. Step 2. Verify to ensure that all materials have been received and are in right quantity. The Assistant Presiding Officer APO shall assist in doing this. Step 3. Record all items received on Form EC25B, Electoral Material Receipt Form, in the polling unit booklet. Step 4. Sign the forms, keep one and submit the other to the SPO. Receiving sensitive election materials. The presiding officer PO shall: Step 1. Receive sensitive materials for use at the polling unit from the SPO at the Registration Area Center. Step 2. Record on Form EC40A the serial number range of the ballot papers and total quantity of ballot papers for each type of election received from the SPO. Step 3. Check the materials to ensure they are complete. Module 4. The polling unit. Setting up the polling unit. To set up the polling unit on election day, the presiding officer PO with his or her polling unit team on arrival at the polling unit shall: Step 1. Remove all campaign materials, if any, from the polling unit. Step 2. Hang up posters such as polling zone, polling unit, voting process posters, and EC30E posters, etc. Step 3. Set up the layout of the polling unit and voting point in accordance with approved layout. Step 4. Arrange the tables and chairs to facilitate easy access for the voters and in line with the Commission's approved format illustrated in the Manual for Election Officials. Step 5. Set up the voting cubicle in such a way that the voter can mark his or her ballot papers in secret. Place the ballot box not more than 2 meters away from voting cubicle in the direction of the presiding officer and away from the polling agent. Step 6. Place one stamp pad in the voting cubicle for use by the voter to thumbprint the ballot papers. Step 7. Place the register of voters, indelible ink, and biro on table 1 for use by the Assistant Presiding Officer APO2. Step 8. Place Inec stamp pad, biro, and assistive aids on table 2 for use by the PO or APO VP. Step 9. Check the card readers for operational readiness. Step 10. Display the smart card reader to all persons present at the polling unit or voting point to ascertain the total accreditation of the smart card reader is 0 by pressing on the query button. Step 11. Open the ballot box and display it in the full view of all persons present at the polling unit or voting point to show that the ballot box is empty. Step 12. Lock the ballot box with the seal provided and place it in not more than 2 meters away from the voting cubicle in the direction of the presiding officer and away from the polling agents. Step 13. Place the ballot paper and tendered ballot paper on the table. Step 14. Allow the accredited polling agents, observers, and journalists to enter the polling unit and sign the attendance register in the polling unit booklet. Quick look at polling unit layout. Layout for voting point VP. Layout for polling unit with 2 voting points. Module 5 Polling Procedure. The polling procedure to be used in this election requires a prospective voter to cast his or her vote immediately after being accredited. Accreditation and voting shall commence at 8 a.m. and close at 2 p.m., provided that any voter already on the queue at 2 p.m. shall be granted access to accreditation and voting in the prescribed manner. Opening of poll. At 8 a.m., the presiding officer shall: Step 1. Allow voters into the polling unit or voting point in an orderly queue. Step 2. Introduce the poll officials and polling agents present and explain the polling procedure. Step 3. Declare the polling unit open for polling. Intending voter shall present him or herself to Assistant Presiding Officer APO3, queue controller and PVC check, who shall: Step 1. Determine that voter is at the correct polling unit, voting point or voting point settlement. Step 2. Confirm that the voter has not voted anywhere by inspecting the cuticle of the fingernails, and if satisfied, direct voter to the APO1. Step 3. Upon inspection of the PVC held by the voter, if the PVC is not for the polling unit, advise the voter to proceed to the appropriate polling unit, voting point or voting point settlement. APO1 verification shall: Step 1. Request for the PVC from the voter. Step 2. Match the photograph on the PVC to the voter. Step 3. Read the PVC using the smart card reader to verify that the PVC belongs to the voter and that the polling unit details in the PVC correspond with those of that polling unit. Step 4. Request the voter to place the appropriate finger in the place provided on the smart card reader for authentication. The verified voter shall then present himself or herself to APO2, Register, Inking and Statistics, who shall: Step 1. Request for the PVC. Step 2. Check the register of voters to confirm that the voter's name, details and voter identification number (VIN) are as contained in the register of voters. Step 3. Tick the appropriate box of the horizontal boxes on the right margin beside the voter's details on the register, showing the category of election if the person's name is on the register of voters. Step 4. Tick the appropriate box at the left margin of the voter details in the case of smart card reader, failure to read (FR) or failure to authenticate (FA). Should thumbprint and write telephone number in the boxes provided. Step 5. Document the status of the voter if the voter is a PWD by completing the PWD form EC40H as prescribed. Step 6. Apply indelible ink to the cuticle of the specified finger on the left to indicate that the voter has been accredited to vote in the election. The presiding officer PO, ballot issuance and overseer. Once the voter is accredited, the voter shall present him or herself to the PO, who shall. Step 1. Check the cuticle of the appropriate finger or thumbnail of the voter to confirm that he or she has been accredited. Step 2. Satisfied that the person before him or her has been duly accredited, stamp, sign, and write the date on the back of the ballot papers for the respective categories of election. Step 3. Pre-fold the ballot papers using the roll and flatten method. Step 4. Issue the pre-folded and endorsed ballot papers to the voter. Step 5. Request the voter to remove his or her cell phone or any photographic device before proceeding to the voting cubicle. Step 6. Direct the voter to the voting cubicle to mark his or her choice on a ballot paper. Step 7. Ensure that the voter deposits the thumb-printed ballot paper in the appropriate ballot box. Step 8. Where the voter is visually impaired, blind, VIB, PO shall issue to him or her the Braille, ballot guide, or magnifying glass as the case may be. Note: only a valid voter's card should be acceptable for accreditation and voting. Quick look at ballot paper folding. Module 6. Closing of poll. At 2 p.m., the presiding officer shall: Step 1. Announce the closure of poll and request the security personnel to stand at the back of the last person in the queue. Step 2. Allow all voters already in the queue to continue to vote until the last voter. Step 3. After every voter on the queue has voted, declare voting closed. Step 4. Cancel all the unused ballot papers by crossing them on the front of the ballot papers like this, and writing the word "cancelled" between the lines, or where available, use a stamp "cancelled" on each of the unused ballot papers. Step 5. Obtain the number of voters verified from the smart card reader. Step 6. Send the number of voters verified from the smart card reader to Inec back-end server. Step 7. Count the number of accredited voters in the register of voters. Step 8. Compare the number verified by the card reader with the number checked in the register of voters. Module 7. Preparing for ballot sorting. In preparing for sorting of the ballot, the presiding officer shall: Step 1. Prepare party name tags for the various parties and for rejected ballots. Step 2. Count the unused ballot papers and record the quantity and serial numbers of the unused ballot papers on Form EC40A. Step 3. Count the counterfoils of the used ballot papers and record the quantity on Form EC40A. Step 4. Put the counterfoil of the used ballot papers in envelope EC50F. Step 5. Count any spoiled ballot papers, record the quantity and their serial numbers on Form EC40C. Step 6. Put the spoiled papers in envelope EC50A. Step 7. Announce the seal serial number to verify the seal. Step 8. Cut the seal to unlock the ballot box and empty the content in full view of all persons present. Module 8. Sorting Procedure. The presiding officer (PO) shall: Step 1. In the case of a general election, sort according to the type of election. Sort the ballot into separate piles for each political party and one pile for rejected ballots. Step 2. Loudly count the votes scored by each party in the presence of the polling agents and observers. Allow recount of votes on demand by a polling agent provided that such recount shall only be allowed once. Step 3. Write the word "rejected" in the front of every rejected ballot. Step 4. Show all rejected ballots to the party agents and observers present. Step 5. Where any objection against such rejection is raised by a candidate or polling agents, write the words "rejected but objected to" on the front of the ballot. Step 6. Count and record the quantity and their serial numbers on Form EC40B. Step 7. Put all rejected ballots in envelope EC50A. Step 8. Count and record the quantity of tendered ballots on Form EC40F, tendered ballot statement. Step 9. Enter the scores of the candidates in both figures and words in the appropriate forms EC8A, EC8A VP series. Step 10. Put all tendered ballots in the envelope provided. Step 11. Fill the form EC60E and paste it conspicuously. Pasting a form EC60E is mandatory. Where voting points have been created, the APO VP shall: Step 1. Enter the result on Form EC8A VP. Step 2. Submit to the PO, who shall consolidate the result using Form EC8A and attach the EC8A VP to Form EC8A. The PO shall then: Step 1. Sign, date, and stamp the appropriate EC8A forms. Step 2. Announce loudly the votes scored by each political party. Step 3. Request the candidates or their polling agents where available at the polling unit to countersign. Step 4. Refusal of any candidate or polling agent to countersign the appropriate Form EC8A series shall not invalidate the result of the polling unit. Step 5. Keep the originals of EC8 series and the first pink copies for the Commission. Step 6. Give to the polling agents and the police a duplicate copy each of the completed forms. Step 7. Post the completed publication of result poster EC60E at the polling unit. Step 8. Complete the EC40H 1 for PWD information and statistics. Step 9. Complete the PWD information boxes in the PU booklet. Step 10. Transmit the result as prescribed. Step 11. Transmit accreditation data using Smart Card Reader. Step 12. Take the card reader and the original copy of each of the forms in tamper-evident envelope to the registration area or ward collation officer in the company of security agents. Step 13. The polling agents may accompany the presiding officer to the RA or ward collation center. Module 9. Counting procedures. Immediately after sorting of ballots, presiding officer PO shall: Step 1. Loudly count the votes scored by each political party. Step 2. Write on a sheet of paper the number of valid votes scored by each party to allow for cross-checking before recording same on Form EC 8A series. Step 3. In order to ascertain the number of used ballot papers, verify the result of the poll at the following: A. The number of spoilt ballot papers. B. The number of rejected ballots. And C. The number of valid votes scored by each political party. Step 4. Verify the results according to the prescribed procedure. Step 5. Enter the scores of the candidates in both words and figures in the appropriate forms, EC8A or EC8A VP series. Module 10. Recording of votes on Form EC8A series. The presiding officer PO shall: Step 1. Record the number of registered voters as contained in the register of voters. Step 2. Refer to Form EC40A to record the total number of ballot papers issued to the polling unit and the number of unused ballot papers. Step 3. Refer to Form EC40B to record the number of rejected ballots and Form EC40C to record spoilt ballot papers. Step 4. Record the valid votes scored by each of the political parties in figures and in words in the spaces provided. Step 5. Add up and record the total valid votes scored by all the parties at the bottom of the form, as well as in the box for item 7 at the top of the form. Step 6. Add up the number of spoiled ballot papers plus the number of rejected ballots plus the total valid votes to get the number of used ballot papers and record same in the box provided. Step 7. Cancel not contested phrase at the bottom of the Form EC8 series where election was held. Step 8. Write his or her name on the relevant Form EC8A with stamp and date. Sign on the form and request the polling agents present to countersign it. Step 9. Loudly announce the result of the poll at the polling unit for the information of those present. Step 10. Give duplicate copies of the completed Form EC8A to each of the polling agents and police or any other security personnel present at the polling unit. Step 11. Complete the result poster form EC60E and paste it at a conspicuous place in the polling unit. Module 11. Packing up. Following the completion of recording of the votes on Forms EC8A and or EC8A1 and 2 and EC8A VP, the presiding officer PO shall: Step 1. Put the original Form EC8A and or EC8A1 and EC8A VP Statement of Result of Poll from the polling unit in the tamper-proof envelopes and complete the Form EC40H1, Form EC40H. Step 2. Gather the other envelopes containing the following items separated during the sorting process. 1. Envelope EC50A. Envelope containing unused ballot papers. 2. Envelope EC50C containing counterfoils of ballot papers. 3. Tendered ballot papers and Form EC40F, tendered ballot statement. 4. Envelope EC50A containing rejected and spoiled ballot papers. Step 3. Put the following envelopes in the ballot box. 1. Envelope EC50F. Envelopes containing counterfoils of used ballot papers. 2. Envelopes containing the used ballot papers, envelope EC50V. Step 4. Seal ballot box with the seals provided. Step 5. Put all the remaining envelopes in the Inec bag. 1. Tamper-proof envelope containing the original copy of Form EC8A, EC8A1 and or EC8A-VP polling unit booklet, where applicable. 2. Envelope EC50B containing the register of voters and tendered vote list. 3. Envelope EC50D containing polling unit booklet. 4. Envelopes EC50A containing unused ballot papers. 5. Envelopes containing tendered ballot papers and Form EC40F. 6. Envelopes EC50A containing rejected and spoiled ballot papers. 7. All extra copies of Form EC8A, EC8A1 and or EC8A-VP and all miscellaneous materials such as the Inec stamps, indelible ink, stamp pads and barrel. Step 6. Proceed immediately to the Registration Area Ward, RA Ward, Collation Center and nowhere else, accompanied by the Assistant Presiding Officers, APOs, party agents and security agents with the Inec bag, ballot box, voting cubicle and smart card reader. Step 7. Submit the completed original copies of Form EC8A series and EC40H and EC40H1 contained in the tamper-proof envelope and the smart card readers to the RA Ward, CO and all other materials to the SPO. Once all these steps are followed and completed, you have successfully completed your election day activity as an election official. Good luck.